Do you have any idea what it is that what he's performing is called?
I do not.
You have no idea?
No idea.
It's some stupid ball and some chains.
Not a clue. Looks like nunchucks, like she said.
Yeah, they look like nunchucks, but I'm not totally sure the name of it. I've probably seen them before. No.
I'll tell you what, it looks like the guys who do it with like fire.
I know some kind of juggling. And I've seen it before because I used to have a friend who used to do the same kind of stuff, but that's pretty much about it.
Poi?
It's an art called poi, but did you know what it was before we explained it to you?
No, but it looks like a bunch of yo-yos.
He's doing poi balls.
Poi
Not exactly sure what it's called when you do poi balls.
Should I tell you again that he's playing with fuzzy balls? But now I know that he's playing poi.
That guy is practicing to spin fire. It's called poi.
Yes,
You do?
I do know what it is.
What is it?
It's fire poi, minus the fire, of course.
Sure, I actually spin poi, so I know what he's doing. Indubitably. I have a buddy who went to New Zealand, and when he was there, he like saw a bunch of poi spinners and stuff like that, and saw them perform. It was really cool.
Half, hoop, hacky sack, diabolo, and poi. What do these all have in common? Well, they are known as the unsung arts. Hello, my name is Kyle Brennan.
And I'm Ryan Barrows.
Many arts are considered as unsung arts due to the fact that many people practice them, and at the same time, many more people don't realize they have artistic talents.
Each of these arts have their own story, but for this, we're only focused on poi.
When we say poi, no, we do not mean the Hawaiian staple.
To better understand poi, we called up a well-known fire performer in New York named Haley. This was her response.
It actually didn't come from Hawaii the way that Americans know it. It actually came from more the New Zealand to Australia, and then Australia has the bush parties and that type of a thing, and it made an evolution through there to more of a hippie contingent, because those are the types of people who do the traveling, the backpacking, and the more rudimentary style traveling, and they're the ones who are more exposed to art cultures in other areas, and they picked it up from Australia and brought it to America. It started with the Maori, traditionally speaking, but it actually spans throughout all of Polynesian islands because the Polynesians were actually all started from the same place, but they do different derivatives of the same art. The Maori, however, use it as strength training for the men, and the women use it as a ritual dance. And it's actually nothing like what we do in contemporary poi today. They, first of all, are extremely multiverse, and they use more than just two and different lengths, but they also use them as rhythmic instruments. They hit them on their bodies to create sounds which go with the song and dance that they do. What we do in contemporary poi is a very far cry, and actually far easier than what the traditional Maori do.
Symphony, voodoo 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 symphony, in the M-I-N-D. Wave valves rub on your brain valves constantly. Coming way louder than a wire that's swept to beat. Bomb threat on the deck and right where your ass should be. Jumping off hard while we got the chance to. Yep, yeah, you know how we do. Old school, new school, and combine the two. And damn, it seems you doing it justice. I love the way you move it when we show up and bust this. Trust it, gets better, y'all. Cocktail, Molotov, sweat it off, digital to analog. Like that shit.
So there you have the history of poi. Now as for benefits, basically, the base of poi is that you have a handle, you have a chain or rope, and you also have a poi ball, a weight which is a glow stick, a fire head, a bunch of different stuff that you can use. Now see, the greatness about poi is that it's a performing art. And with any type of performing art, such as flag spinning, hoop, staff, diabolo, devil sticks, whatever, something that moves your arms and such. So you can do it in many different ways. Right now I'm doing what you'd be called a weave, but I'm doing it one-handed. It's exercising all the different muscles throughout my entire arm. Now to be able to get more in depth with this, we got a hold of a man who's been performing with different performing arts for quite a while. It's been about 20 years now, and well, this is what he had to say.
What do you know about performing arts like poi, diabolo, juggling and stuff like that?
What do I know about this stuff? I know a lot about this stuff because for the last 20 years I've run a business called Creative Athletics where I do school assemblies and teacher workshops, and I teach juggling and I teach diabolo and footbag and juggle sticks and poi. And what I know about them is that they're all really, really good for you for developing ambidexterity. They're really, really good for developing left brain, right brain proficiency. It helps you read, it helps you in all your athletic endeavors in terms of making you a better, more bilateral sort of athlete. It helps your peripheral vision. And then depending on which gadget in particular you're talking about, it all helps your eye-hand skills and or your eye-foot skills.
It keeps me, I do a lot of other things like climbing, and it keeps my shoulder, I guess it keeps my shoulders loose and keeps them strong, so like they're strong in multiple positions, you know, like if you spin anything and you're moving your arms around a lot, you get like all these stabilizer muscles that keep you from like, you know, tearing your rotator cuff or getting tendonitis in your shoulders or elbows. I think you get a lot of stabilizing type muscles. Not necessarily like, you know, big muscular ones, but you get lean because you do a lot of dancing moves and stuff where you're spinning around and moving. So I know it's a great exercise. I know people who've lost, you know, 10-15 pounds just from starting to spin and like spinning every, you know, a couple times a week.
There's no study that's been done to prove any of that. That's all just speculation. But it's a physical activity. You're actually out, you're moving. It's aerobic. It's extremely aerobic. I think that any of the weightlifting style benefits would be very dependent on how heavy your poi were. If you're using light poi and you're, you know, spinning by your wrist simply forward all the time, it's not going to be nearly as beneficial as if you're dancing around and doing a weave and, you know, going crazy with heavy poi. So I think it's extremely dependent. But the fact is, you're not sitting in front of a computer and your ass isn't on the couch, so it's got to be better than nothing.
Listen, live, one world nation, true clear channel with rhythm and information. Internet connect network, pirate stations, media free, underground communication.
The great thing about the performing arts is that most of them can correlate with one another, such as you can take poi movements with your hands and you can put it into belly dancing, you can put it into staff work, you can put it into hula hoops, you can put it into devil sticks and diabolos more than likely, some way or another. I haven't really practiced with those myself. Now, with staff, well, with poi you do a weave, and you'll get the weave movements that go along with the weave. With staff, you spin the staff, and you will get 2 rotations of the staff on either side of your body.
Yeah, it's exercise, and it's fluid. It's not like repetitive and boring. You know, it's something where you can get better and better and better at it. The more you practice, the better you get. So it has sort of a reason to do it. You know, it's like video games. All you people that play those video games, shame on you. But you get better and better at it as you practice it more. You know, and it has that reward in itself. It's kind of addictive in that regard because you want to do it more. I want to get just a little better at it. And it serves the purpose of keeping you healthy and in shape and exercising. The question, in a way, begs the answer, because to ask if you're going to get an all-around exercise from a weapon, it doesn't understand the fact that it is all around. Every time you do the weapon, you have to use everything you have. So you're constantly using your entire body in every application. So it's not specific. It's not just one motion. And there's so many ways you can use each weapon that you can't name a muscle group that you're not going to affect.
Well, the reason I'm still doing it is every time I think that I'm getting pretty decent, I'm like, okay, I'm learning this, and I don't feel like there's a lot of room for improvement. Then someone comes up with something totally new, like all that stuff we're saying where the two heads are together and they're moving together as one around, is a relatively new kind of like particular style of moves that people have been developing over the last 2 years. But before that, I'd never seen it up until 2 years ago. Now everyone's doing it, everyone's learning it, and there's a lot of stuff to learn. So obviously, nowhere near mastering anything. That's why I like all these things. Is you think you're progressing, and you sort of feel like you're plateauing, but then you go and you meet up with a bunch of new fire performers somewhere at some event, and then you see all this new stuff that they're learning, and so it's why it's always good to kind of broaden your sphere of influence.
What would you say to anybody who had a certain urge to take up one of these dance, craft, arts after watching this documentary? Would you give them any advice, any tips? Yeah, there's tons. I mean, there's tons of resources online. There's www.homeofpoi. They have a lot of different stuff, not just for poi, all different fire dancing. There's I think it's poipoi.com is another one, and they all have tutorials, and they all have videos and DVDs. We've learned a lot from watching DVDs and seeing people that we have seen perform, post videos on YouTube. But by far the best way of learning is by being with someone, taking a class or a workshop.
Do so carefully. You'll get hit in the back of the head. No, I'm only kidding.
I think most of the people who take on poi are either exhibitionists or they are in for instant gratification. Poi, the very basics are actually not difficult to pick up. It's very similar to jumping a rope. And I think that people like picking them up and doing it because you can get these things very quickly at first. And I think that because of the freedom of motion that it allows, where it's not really strict and stringent on the rest of your body, people get very caught up in it very quickly.
What you can do, particularly with products like juggling stuff, is that you can get excited about it and then just really be limited only by your willingness to keep going and keep trying different things, and then trying to get involved in different communities where people are willing to show you all these different tricks.